So you're going to take your yard of fabric, and first thing we're going to do is press it. We want to use a starch or starch alternative like this Magic Quilting and Fabric Spray and a little mister bottle and spray down your fabrics. I usually spray the entire thing and then I let it sit for a second and then iron it. So I want to iron it with a hot iron. I use a little bit of steam to really press out those wrinkles from it being folded. And you'll notice that it gives it a little bit of extra body compared to where I didn't use the spray. So we're going to press all of that out, and then we're going to go ahead and clip it and tear our fabric. So the reason we're doing this is to find the grain line of the fabric. I'm going to do this on both sides so that it goes the warp of the fabric and the weft of the fabric. Then we'll lay this out, give it a good little pressing because those edges are going to want to curl under a little bit from where you tore it. So this can sometimes frustrate people, but I will say that tearing the fabric will actually find you the straight of grain, which will help you find the bias. So you're going to lay this out, get it nice and square, then fold it up so that your torn edges match, wrong sides together. We'll get that all nice and neat and then give that fold a press to keep it together a little bit more evenly for the next step, which we're going to take this over to the cutting mat and trim off that center fold. So this was the original fold at the 45. I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to go ahead and move it up so that I can get it straight across the top of the ruler. I'm using the little 1/8 inch mark that's at the top of my Sew Tights magnetic ruler here. And then I'm going to trim off that edge. So that will give me a nice straight line to be able to cut all of my binding strips from. That center fold is never going to be perfect, so we just get rid of it. So then we'll go ahead and turn this whole piece around, lay it back out again. You can do this very gently because you don't want those edges to come apart. I like to use the magnets and I put those in place to hold it so it won't move for me. Use my ruler again and lay this out at 2 1/8 inch. So you can see it's just past that 2-inch line. And that's where I'm going to cut it. So you can cut your binding the width that you prefer. 2 1/8 is my preferred width. Some people do 2, some people do 2 1/4. It really is a matter of preference. You're going to go ahead and cut all of your strips. Once I've got all of those strips cut, we're going to neaten up the ends so that we can sew them together really easily. So I will lay them together, usually a couple at a time. More than that can get a little wiggly and it's harder to keep it straight. So we're going to use our ruler with the 45-degree mark, lay it out on there, and I just line that 45-degree line up with the bottom edge of my fabric. So I'm trying to get that a little bit straighter because the lines on the cutting mat interfere sometimes. So make sure that you're being really careful and getting it on the bottom edge of the fabric. Trim it off at a 45-degree angle. We're going to do that at the other end, and we're going to make sure that our cuts are going the same direction. So your strips will be different lengths, and that's totally fine. Just move them over and get them even again. Lay them out, and then we're going to use the ruler to get those to be cut in the same direction. So luckily this fabric, I can tell which direction it goes because I'm cutting it sort of with the design. But again, I'm going to lay the ruler out, line it up with the bottom, trim it off. So now they're going to be able to sew together really easily. All right, so I'm going to line them up so that they overlap with about 1/4 inch overlap at either end, and then I'm going to sew in between. Now I moved over to the machine and I'm going to line this up as well as I can. And then I will get it under my machine, put the needle down and bump that intersection up to my needle. Make sure that it's close enough to 1/4 inch. You can also see with my laser where it's going to go and that it's going to match up with that next intersection. So I'm going to sew that seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I do a 2.0 millimeter stitch length, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Now we'll go ahead and press all of those seams open. So where we have intersected the two, or we brought them together, we're going to just give it a little press it open, and then we're going to take it and the entire binding strip, you're going to carefully fold it over and give it a little press. Now you want to be really careful when you're doing this because it's on the bias that you don't stretch it. So be very careful with that. Just press it. I kind of lift it up a little bit, give it another press, and just lift it up as I go, walking it along the binding strip. And this helps to not distort it because of the bias. I will say it's probably one of the bigger issues that people have with the bias binding. So you're just going to continue to press all of your binding, all 4, 5, 6, 7 yards of it neatly. Make sure that you press your seams open at those connections, then go back and you can just trim off the dog ears with your little scissors. Make it nice and neat. You don't have to, but it does help when you're sewing it on to have those gone.